Hi everyone, I'm Teresa Green and it's Mindful Monday. Today I wanted to talk about making room for yourself in your life as you're very busy. So I've spent a lot of my time with some chronic illness and it's mostly better now. But one of the things that I had a problem with while I was in the worst part of that chronic illness was never feeling like I had enough time to kind of cover all my bases as far as the things that I felt like I needed to do. So I didn't feel like I had the energy to really do a good job of being present for my patients while also being present for the administrative side of the job, while also being present in my social and close relationships with my husband and friends and family, while also being able to manage my home the way I wanted to, while also doing the learning that I wanted to do and was very interested in, while also doing the things in my yard and my garden that I wanted to do, while also occasionally even having some fun. And because I felt a lot of outside pressures to do all of those things perfectly, because that's what you see in social media, and even before Facebook and all of the social media, that's what you saw on TV, on cooking shows and decorating shows and all the different things of how to do everything perfectly. And I hadn't matured to the point that I could take what I could use from that information, but let the rest go as not something that was healthy for me. Well, they say that any major illness can really affect you, but especially cancer, I think, because or any illness that has a terminal possibility at the end of it that's fairly common. So most people, know of someone who has died of the illness that you've had, that it can really change who you are. And so after my cancer experience in 2020, I realized that, well, for one thing, I didn't want it to come back. And second, that we all have limited time. And I had been doing a lot of exercises and a lot of reading and a lot of cultivating a spirit of wholeness and a spirit of peace using mindfulness exercises and doing things related to my personal path of faith and learning boundaries and things like that. And so I decided I was going to rework how I did my day-to-day life. I didn't so much want to give up any of those areas of my life because they were all important to me, but I was going to change how I approached them. And instead of approaching each one as sort of a be-all, end-all representation of myself and my value as a person, I was going to have myself be the representation of myself and my value as a person, and have those things be part of who I am. And so that meant a lot of changes. That meant that I actually decreased the number of hours that I spend in clinic because I didn't have the energy to give myself fully to a full schedule. I opened up to the idea of enjoying the time I was spending on a given thing and doing my best. It's still a struggle, but doing my best to not always be thinking about the other things I need to do when I'm doing something else. So for instance, if I am cleaning the kitchen, I try really hard, and again, it's still a struggle for me, but I try really hard not to be thinking about the email that I promised to send that isn't out yet, or something like that. And then I also decided that I was going to really focus and really put into my life enjoying the process of living. So I was no longer going to have my sense of fun or my sense of recreation or my sense of restoration being something that came in after I got everything else I was supposed to get done. And that's a really, really common thing, I think worldwide, but especially here in this country, that you rest after you've accomplished your responsibilities. When we're learning more and more from a health perspective that rest actually should just be one of your responsibilities, and it should be way up there, because without the rest, without the proper food, without the self-care, you're not really able to do the other things very well. Plus, you also end up not being able to contribute to, if contribution to society is important to you, you're not able to contribute at your best either, because either you have low energy or you have illness that prevents you from doing anything at all, or you just don't feel good. A lot of times if you're not taking care of yourself, you become more reactive and become harder to live with, let's say. And I think sometimes if you look on social media or if you look at some of the divisive things in this country, there are an awful lot of things that yes, they have very important foundational things, foundational clashes of philosophy or clashes of justice or clashes of empathy that need to be addressed. But a percentage, perhaps a very small percentage, but a percentage of these problems are just that people aren't taking care of themselves, and so they are constantly reactive. It's very easy to offend people who are exhausted and tired and don't feel good because they already feel like they've given more than they have to give. And so to ask them to be empathetic, or to ask them to have patience with a problem, or to ask them to endure a little bit of suffering for something that may be unavoidable, such as, supply chain issues or something like that, or gas prices, or, the things that we're dealing with right now, to be able to deal with it from a place of patience and a place of empathy for the people around you is really hard when you're exhausted. So for Mindful Monday, I'd like to suggest that you look at your life and think, how much are you enjoying your life as it is, and what would an enjoyable life look like? Now, not everyone has the freedom to be able to change their clinic hours or their work hours the way I did, and not everyone has the resources to be able to put everything into your life that you want. I certainly have not been able to do that, and the price, at least temporarily, for my clinic hours being down is I'm not making as much money. But I believe, and it seems like it's following true in the way that my monthly numbers are working out, that I'm able to make more money over time, because when I'm increasing what I'm giving, when I'm increasing my availability, it's from a place of plenty, not from a place of lack. And everyone can do this to some extent. If you can't change your work hours, or if you can't change your responsibilities, if you're a parent with children, or you're a caregiver or something like that, and so that you can't not give a certain amount, you can still change the parameters of it to some degree. And that's something that there's lots of information online. There are coaches for just about any particular life circumstance that you want to mention. There are books you can get from the library if money's an issue, so that you can't get buy things. And there's also just mindfulness, which is completely free. Mindfulness, as you know from watching this video series, is just taking time, and it can be just a minute or two. You don't have to spend 30 minutes a day with your legs crossed and your eyes closed going, You can just take a couple minutes every morning and sit outside or stay inside and just be with yourself and feel how your muscles feel when you first wake up in the morning, or how your coffee smells or your tea smells, or how it feels like just to look at your hand and notice all the little swirls and the little lines on it. Just anything that brings you out of your thinking ahead or thinking behind, out of your kind of dwelling on things, even good things, into this moment, into sitting right here in this moment. And so if you will do that, it may take a while. That's why my clinic's called Slow Paths Wellness, because important changes don't often happen overnight if there's something that you're cultivating inside yourself. And giving yourself time to build a new routine, to allow that to happen, is an important part of just daily life. But what you'll find, if you give yourself time for mindfulness, if you give yourself time for self-care, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, even if just for 5 minutes you take a moment, if you have to, you go to the bathroom and you shut the door and you just sit for a moment, or you wash your face with nice smelling, with super nice soap, or with a washcloth that has a really cool texture, just anything so that you're feeling like you're taking care of yourself. That's kind of like planting a seed in the ground, and it will grow. So today your mindfulness may be 1 minute in the morning when you're drinking your tea, to just enjoy the way that it feels to have the warmth on your face, or to hear birds outside, or to notice the way that the shadows are on the wall from the light, just any little thing like that. And you'll find that if you do that every single day, preferably a few times a day, if it's only a minute, maybe you can squeeze it in a little bit more than once a day, but you'll find that your body craves that, and that you start finding more opportunities to do that. Your 1 minute may become 2, or it may become several times a day. Or you may start noticing in little couple second intervals, where instead of it just being, something you kind of time and trying to grit your teeth through because you're not used to it, to when you're walking, you notice, the breeze on my skin feels really nice. and you notice the way that someone that you love, the way that their hair shines in the sun, something like that, you'll notice that it starts increasing. So today for Mindful Monday, take a moment and just reorder your life. Allow yourself to see the things that are important to you and give them priority. Give them the priority that they need. And as I said, that may mean reworking things, and at first it may mean just reworking it in your head. If you are working ridiculous hours just trying to make ends meet, you may just be able to start putting the idea into your head that I'm going to look for a way to pay my bills and not have to work at such a huge level of output where I'm exhausted at the end of the day. That might mean that you start looking for ways to change jobs, or you may have a talk with your employer and try to see what you could do about that, or you may just try to bring a little bit less of your energy that you don't have to your job. So that doesn't mean that you're not working hard, but it means that you're content to give what you have and not what you don't have to your job. And I know sometimes that feels like, well, that can't possibly work, because if I don't give 110%, then I won't have a job anymore. But lots and lots of research and lots of people in various industries have found that when you're actually giving what you have to give instead of what you perceive as is needed, that a lot of times you end up doing a better job anyway, and you end up getting more likely to be promoted or more likely to get a raise, because that lack of sort of desperation feeling where you're just kind of giving everything you have and you're just barely hanging on, that comes across even, no matter what the job, anything from, custodial work, or from a cashier, someone who's doing a very important job but may not be making the great big money that we dream about, to the CEO, that when you're able to come from a place of presence, which you will be able to as you cultivate taking care of yourself and making yourself a priority, then that comes across and people notice that. People feel better working with someone who's not constantly running at a breakneck pace and is exhausted all the time. And that goes a long way when it comes time to look for a new job or be considered for a promotion, or even just to decide your work schedule and to be able to make some boundaries. If you're the one that's calm and you're the one that people kind of count on, and you say, you know what, I'm going to have to stop working from, some certain number of hours, like I don't want to come in for the 3 o'clock in the morning shift or whatever, then you're more likely to have that. You're more likely to be able to influence people to have that benefit. So for today, for Mindful Monday, look at your life, decide what you actually want, put sort of the dream in place of this is how I'd like to have it, and then give yourself the gift of mindfulness and self-care, even if that's in tiny little increments, to be able to cultivate the idea that you are able to honor your worth and honor what you want in life, and see what happens. Give it a few weeks and see if you have any changes in your life. So thank you very much for being here for Mindful Monday. And for those of us in the United States, I wish you a meaningful Memorial Day, and remembering the sacrifices that other people have made, that people have made for our country, and being willing to die for something they believed in. And I wish you a good week.